the reason why I decided to have bariatric surgery was a relative of mine had had surgery, and kind of helped me to see that this might be the solution because it worked for her. And you know, the really sad thing is I had no idea she had alcohol use disorder either. And she died at an early age after about 3 years after my surgery. And I remember being at her funeral with my brother. And I turned to him because it was so hush hush. How did she die? Like it was very,
Mhm.
um, nobody was talking about it. And I was kind of confused about that, just some health reasons. And I finally turned to my brother and I'm like, how did she die? I don't understand. And he said, she's an alcoholic. Didn't you know?
Very excited to have Coach Ruby Williams here. Hello, Ruby.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. This is a long time coming. So, Ruby, well, first of all, Ruby's got up at 4 a.m. for us. So she must really love us and you guys that are
I do.
listening. And this is also kind of a really interesting time to be recording because I've known Ruby for a long time now. So we trained together,
Mhm.
gosh, back in 2020 with Annie Grace, and we've done a lot of coaching work together within This Naked Mind. And I've been following everything that you're doing, and it's marvelous. And we're going to talk about your new podcast in a little while as well. So it's been wonderful to get to know you all these years. But we actually get to hug at the end of this week.
I know. And Sam too. We're gonna just it's gonna be so
Yeah,
cool.
it's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
So we're Sam and I are off on our travels, and we get to meet with Annie and all of the other coaches, and I'm just so excited about that. So thank you for being here with us today and affording us your time, and as I say, getting up at 4 a.m., which is woof, super grateful for your time and for doing that for us today. And what we wanted to talk about, well, we want to hear about you and your story for those of our listeners that might not know you yet. I mean, most people know Ruby, but for those that don't, it'd be good to hear a bit about your story. And we would really love to talk about the weight loss surgery aspect because that's something that we haven't gone to that
Yeah.
realm in our conversations here, and how that fits with alcohol use disorder and within your story. So that would be a really great place for us to major on. And as I said, we'd love to hear about everything that you're up to, and especially your exciting new venture, your podcast. So where feels like a good place for you to start, Ruby?
Well, let's just start, in the beginning, right? No.
I always start in the middle, so it's
Oh,
always
in the
interesting to
middle.
me whether people
Okay.
start at the end, the beginning, or the middle.
Well, the end is I'm radiating. No, okay. So, well, I'm from Northern California. I'm a NorCal girl and about an hour north of San Francisco. I'm in the wine country. So, there's like Napa Valley and there's Sonoma Valley, and I'm in Sonoma County. And I grew up, my stepdad was a winemaker. So I grew up with wine and I revered wine. And but I want to talk about like just who who I am, like my emotional self. My little Ruby had a pretty tough childhood, and I used food to numb, you
Mhm.
know, all through my childhood and then into my adult. And my weight would go up and down like a lot. And I had an early, divorce, child custody battle, home foreclosure. I was in a corporate job, which was really stressful with being a single mom. There was a lot on my plate, just like surviving. And I used wine because I worked in the wine industry to numb as well as food. And I decided to have weight loss surgery after I gained about like 120 pounds. So I was quite heavy. Um, and I didn't realize that about 1 in 5 people that have bariatric or weight loss surgery can succumb to alcohol use disorder.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, like just think about you cut away part of your stomach, so you physically can't eat very much food. But if you haven't changed any of your mindset
Mm.
and you use food to numb, I mean, it happened really quickly for me. I think I was on that like trajectory, right? I'm in the wine industry, I'm drinking wine, and I felt like the medical industry just didn't, my doctors and the team didn't really warn me enough. I'll just say that back in 2011. Um, but even if they did, I don't know if I would have, because I swear I thought I'm a normal drinker. I could take it or leave
Mm,
it. Like
mm,
I just really thought so. But yeah, it just became like my go-to coping tool,
mm,
wine every night after work. Plus all my everybody, right? Everybody's drinking in wine country. That's what it felt like anyway. Everyone. Um, yeah, but I was definitely like high functioning, nothing wrong in terms of that. But I was up to probably 3 bottles a night at the end there. So drinking a lot. Not I was waiting for like this rock bottom. But what happened though was my job got moved from California to New York, and I was able to leave that job. And the first thing I wanted to do was get alcohol free. I had tried all kinds of things on my own, right? Like a lot of people um, tried only drinking a half a bottle, only drinking the little bottles. I then you just need like 10 little bottles, right? I would try um naltrexone. I didn't know about all of this though, this like alcohol-free movement, or that there was a community. I felt so alone. Um, and really reading Annie's book, This Naked Mind, like that first sentence, it's 3:33 in the morning and you're laying there awake. And it just like I didn't feel alone all of a sudden.
yeah.
And her book was just literally the catalyst to understanding the science. I did try AA. I tried outpatient. I tried naltrexone. I tried everything I could get my hands on. Right, I was going to do everything and everything and anything, and to just try to um, get alcohol free. But that felt like a double whammy for me to have this binge eating or eating disorder, whatever you want to call it, and then have it move to an alcohol use disorder. It
Mm,
felt like, why is this doubly happening to me? And it's just, what did it feel like after surgery? When I had like a glass of wine, it instantly, I say within seconds, was into my bloodstream. That's what it felt like instant, that buzz feeling, way faster. But then it went away way faster.
mm,
So it was
mm,
so odd to me. So you would drink a glass of wine very quickly. So you can imagine the tolerance just increased so fast. I was from one glass a night to a whole bottle within like a month. And it just
mm,
kept increasing. That train kept increasing. It felt like Groundhog's Day every day. Yeah. So that's
Mm.
part of my story. Yeah.
gosh. And so you mentioned that the that you had a difficult childhood and that this is where the kind of the coping mechanism came up with food.
Hmm.
And the thing that seems really difficult with because disordered eating often comes hand in hand with as you say with alcohol use disorder, and the real um challenge with it is like we have to eat, like we
Right.
have to fuel our bodies.
Hmm.
So can you talk to us a little bit more about how that manifested itself, and like how old were you when you first were using food as a coping mechanism?
As early as I can remember, I think. Um,
Wow.
yeah. But specifically when my parents got divorced, I would
Yeah.
say that I was 8 years old. And yeah, it just really was hard for me. Because back then in the 1970s, so I'm 54, I'm a little older than you guys, but back in the
I thought
1970s,
you were like our age. You got
No.
about 10 years on
So
me.
I look good, right? No, it's
You
because
do.
the
You look
alcohol-free living.
amazing.
Well, thank you. But back in the 1970s, divorce was kind of, at least, or it was a little different in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of like that my parents just kind of decided, like, I have a brother, that my mom was going to take my brother, he was younger, and my dad was going to take me, and then they were going to switch every year. So what
Oh,
happened was I lost my brother at 8, meaning we never really lived together much. I felt
oh,
like I lost my mom. Like, it just, like, everything changed. And then my dad um wasn't really there. He was drinking, doing drugs, and like I was home alone. I think that's when everything kind of like started for me in terms of coping. And yeah, and I used food, definitely. And then there's when you get into like junior high and high school, it's all the like you're supposed to be skinny, you know.
mm.
Um, but it was yeah, there's a lot going on back in the 70s
Oh,
and
yeah.
then 80s. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say. I was born in 1980, and then around about the similar sort of time, 7 years old, my parents divorced, and it's kind of like I'm not going to tell it here, but it's kind of like I'll tell you when we meet next week.
Okay.
It's kind of like this like wacky background to it. As you said, divorce, separation, all of that was very, very different then,
Mm-hmm.
and the reverberations from it were intense. However you cut it up. I mean, for me, um, how it kind of manifested itself was that I was my sister and I were with my mum, and we then had this new stepfather who shows up on the scene, who I had very troubled relationship with, and my father. Um, and this is the bit I won't get into here today, but I'll talk about at some point. Um, he was largely absent. Like I was lucky if I saw him once a month,
Yeah.
and so there was a big a big abandonment wound there, and that's
Right.
still something that I'm working with now. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, he died when he was 48. So,
Okay.
and I was 20. So that not only did I have this abandonment wound, then as I get into my you know, adolescence and young adulthood, he's then gone entirely.
Yeah.
And those adverse childhood experiences have a huge impact. When
Yeah.
you'll see my face when you said about the arrangement. So the arrangement from your parents would have come with the best of intention and a whole lot of heart, I'm sure. But oh God, I'm feeling it in my body right now, like to be separated from your sibling in that way, and to feel that level of abandonment from your mother. Like I can't even begin to imagine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
I've been
painful.
working through it my whole life. It's been there, this abandonment, like, and only after getting alcohol free was I able to like work on my traumas.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
EMDR and therapy, and but all the therapy that I did when I was drinking, I don't think really had a big impact until I got alcohol free. So I mean, that's really important to me, to work on these underlying issues that were the reasons why I was drinking and eating. Why did I want to numb? Why did I want to just escape?
Mm,
Um, mhm.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a really, I think a lot of times people have got themselves to a point where they're not feeling a lot of love and compassion for that thing that they were doing potentially when they were young, be it eating, taking drugs,
mm,
smoking, drinking. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, we've got to understand, like, we were just doing the best we could with what we had. Those tools were what was there. And for many of us, actually, it's a good job we had that thing. Actually, it's very hard for us to
mhm,
kind of see that sometimes, but thank fuck for a lot of us that we had something like that, because otherwise, I mean, I don't know what I would have done, right?
mhm,
So there's a wisdom in it, actually. And then our level of
mhm.
understanding increases. And very often that thing that started off kind of, being the best we could do, it then starts to feel like, oh, I really want to kind of grow beyond this and I want to let go of it, right? So I'm really, I don't know if I'm jumping around too much here, mate, but when you said, I just knew I wanted to get alcohol free as soon as I came out of that job,
Yes.
how did you know? Like, what was the What was
Well,
it?
I'd been trying for probably 7 years.
Right.
And and my excuse was, well, I work in the wine industry. That's my job. And every time I would try, every single time, like I might actually, it didn't do very well on my own, but so at one point there was a big, so the reason why I decided to have bariatric surgery was a relative of mine had had surgery, and um kind of helped me to see that this might be the solution because it worked for her. And you know the really sad thing is I had no idea she had alcohol use disorder either. And she died at an early age after about 3 years after my surgery. And I remember being at her funeral with my brother. And I turned to him because it was so hush hush. How did she die? Like it was very,
Mm.
um, nobody was talking about it. And I was kind of confused about that, just some health reasons. And I finally turned to my brother and I'm like, how did she die? I don't understand. And he said, she's an alcoholic. Didn't you know? And I remember, that was the term that I was like, at that moment, I literally went into a deep dark hole and I said, oh my gosh, this is going to be me, my funeral. Because nobody knows how much I'm drinking. Nobody knew that I was drinking at that point, 3 years after surgery, probably 2 bottles or more a night. And immediately that scared me so much that I stopped for about 10 days. But then there was a wine tasting at my job. And I
Mhm.
just said to myself, I can't do this. I can't have a job and in the wine industry and then try to get alcohol for. I couldn't figure it out in my mind.
Mm.
And I felt very trapped. Very, very trapped in the work that I was doing, but also knowing it was ruining my health.
Mm.
So it got kind of scary there because then it moved from wine to hard alcohol, what I call
Yeah.
hard alcohol, spirits.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just to educate me a little bit, Ruby. So
Yes.
the so you have the surgery, and so you're thinking everything else hasn't changed. The thing that's changed is physically you're
Yeah.
different. And so practically, like, what happens? You're unable to eat effectively to the same degree that you would have
Yeah.
pre-surgery.
Yeah. You literally you're super full with like a quarter cup of food or half a cup of food.
Wow. Wow.
And it stays full. Yeah, I literally lost, I think the first month, 30 pounds, the next month, 20 pounds. I mean, you lose fast. Um, but if you don't do the work around your mindset and the reasons that why you want to numb, I think it's just going to go to another addiction. And then
Yeah.
if you still don't work on it, maybe I figure out my alcohol, but then actually what happened was I started drinking alcohol, then I gained most of the weight back. So I
Oh my
gained the weight back
goodness.
because your stomach does stretch. It can stretch with the surgery. If you can keep stretching it out if you just eat more and more food.
Right.
Or if you eat little meals, like 10 little meals,
Mhm.
so you can gain the weight back. That does happen. Yeah.
Wow. And that's a big deal. Like, to go, because I'm making an assumption that this kind of surgery is
It was a real
intense.
big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
very big deal. Yeah. I cut myself up because I
Wow.
didn't want to do the work. I wanted a quick fix. And then I wanted a quick fix with alcohol, right? I wanted someone to like just wave a magic wand. Um, but really it's about making a decision and doing all the work behind it.
Mm.
The
Mm.
mindset. Now that I know about this naked mind methodology, I tried AA. That's willpower. It didn't really work. All So when I found this naked mind and like the methodology, it just really made a lot of sense because I love the science
Mm. Mm.
and the compassion. The self-compassion piece was key, actually. Like what you
Yeah.
said, Sam. I did the best that I could with the tools that I had.
Yeah.
I really firmly 100% believe that in myself and everyone. And there's so much hope, like that everyone can turn this around. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's such a lovely thread here around what you referred to as the work, and we've talked about this in the past. If you go back to like, oh God, one of our early episodes where we interviewed Megan Brooks. Interestingly, Megan Brooks lives near Tampa, so we might be seeing Megan Brooks also.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
so this lady Megan, she was one of my first group coaching clients. Really interesting backstory. A lot of trauma in her story. And I got to know her in one of the alcohol experiments, and then she came into one of my small coaching groups. And the work that she did was really just intensely admirable. You know, she's one of these very, very driven ladies who like nothing was going to stop her, and she had very connected to her knowing. And it was wonderful to watch her on her journey. She came to talk to us a couple of times on the podcast, really great episodes to go back and listen to. And one of those episodes, I think we called it "The Work is the Joy," because the revelation that she had was that all of this, you know, working on ourselves, that's actually where the joy is found. And it's not we'll often you'll hear this all the time, Ruby, people in our programs that say things like, I've got a lot of work to do. You know, we all have this notion of we've got all of this stuff to reconcile or to somehow integrate or work with. And, you know, to some extent that may be true, but the power of awareness is really quite astounding. You know, how it can burn through stuff. You know, we can purify some of the things very, very, very easily. But it doesn't need to be like you mentioned about, you know, AA and, you know, here's all these things that I tried. It doesn't have to be this hard work, this efforting, this laborious, or I have to do this to become free. Actually, the best kept secret is that attending to this work, whilst it is challenging, it calls for a lot of courage. God, it's life-giving. It really is. And it just it's like you open one door and step through it, and then a bunch more present themselves. And it becomes really compelling to just keep moving forward in whatever way makes sense to you. You know, you get led down all of these different paths. And it can be, as I say, it can be really challenging, but God, it's so fulfilling. So fulfilling.
It truly is. Yeah, the joy is in the journey. And when I say the word work, which I'm glad you brought that up, Ellie, because it's, to me, it's that self-growth. I use the word work, but it's effort, but it's the joy. And when you get to the other side, or I love that visual of going through a door and then seeing more doors, or getting to the top of a mountain and seeing more mountain peaks. What are you going to climb next? You know, it really was the big domino, alcohol, you know, especially with weight, because if you think about it, once I started drinking, I would just eat all the foods I wasn't going to eat because my inhibitions were down, and I gained that weight back and I became more sluggish. I wasn't fulfilling, you know, my potential. And, you know, how can you fill your potential when it's just like Groundhog's Day of drinking, passing out, waking up, you know, getting through your day, drinking again? It was just this cycle, right? So, and I know if you're there, some of you listening, it gets, you feel like you're so alone. At least I did. But there's things like these podcasts. This is amazing. What you guys do is amazing. Sorry, I'm like going all over the place. But yeah, the work. So what I've learned to believe, like there's three truths, you know. One, that everybody struggles. Everybody. We're all struggling. We're all these like we're souls that are just feeling, you know, beings, and we're struggling, and that tomorrow, that our life is uncertain. We're all like running around, and our brains are trying to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow. We really don't know. I mean, continuity exists, and most likely we'll do the same thing today that we did tomorrow, but you know, the potential is huge. And then the third thing is just do the work. Now, I mean, work, like you also have to work to pay the bills and, you know, eat and have shelter, but the work on yourself, it's so important. And it's life work for me, and it's a joy. I love that you said it's a joy. It truly is. And one of my practices that I wanted to mention, because I love this practice, is saying today is a fresh new day. I mean, it is literally what I've been doing every single day is this like meditation about today is a new day. There's endless possibilities. And it's kind of like how I live my life is you have today. Who are you going to say that you love today? What if you only had today? It's a lot about just being present and in the moment.
Mm.
Yeah. So kind of just went in a different direction. Sorry.
No, it's great. We're just
Yeah.
there's a few things that like that's just living in alignment with how life works, right? It's like it's interesting how things get easier, but we're not kind of given the instruction manual, and then we kind of make one up and then
Right.
spend a while trying to like figure the real one out or whatever. But I realized something as you were sharing that I don't know if I've seen it in this way before. Alcohol is a very interesting drug in the way that it impacts people in the sense of inhibitions and stuff. Actually, the fact that our
Mm-hmm.
society is almost certain parts of it it is in society, you know, it's you can find it on in bars and it's sold legally and all the rest of it. But I found that many of the things that I was struggling with that I had isolated from alcohol, things around food, things to do with smoking, things to do with drugs, all these different things, without the alcohol and without the inhibitory effects of it, those things to I tried to like solve my problems with those things, but very quickly I realized, oh, this sucks. Um, Without the booze, without that effect, like it was like, I really don't want to do this. So the game of whack-a-mole kind of started. So it was like, right, well, I'll do this, and then I'll try that. You know, I wasn't consciously trying to eat in a disordered way or anything that, but it was like, you know, trying on all these different things to try and
Mm.
avoid feelings and all the rest of it. Um, so one of the ways I think one of the gifts that we get when we take alcohol out is we take away that, you know, that anesthetic element and all the rest of it, and we start to see what's really going on, which that is the gift. That is the amazing thing. That is the beginning of something absolutely incredible. Um, as it can be scary and daunting at the beginning, but anyone who's truly found their freedom, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't done it by sticking a number of days together. You know, that's absolutely secondary. They've done it by realizing the
Exactly.
things that you have, made. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And the importance of that, well, we call it the big domino, but like, you know, once you can get good sleep and heal
Mm,
and then start working on these emotional issues, and then you start exercising, um, and you start to gain confidence again. Look at yourself, you know, in the mirror, your eyes, and self-love. Find that self-care, that self-love, that self-kindness. It just does. It didn't exist. I was really just beating myself up every single day. So I think that's so important, to know that you can just ask this one question, like, how do you want to feel in life? Or are you living up to your full potential? You know, these kind of questions got me kind of going and started,
Mm.
on this
Mm.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah. There's I know you and I have got some affinity with the kinds of things that we're interested in and the kind of practices that we love. Uh, the practices are so important, right? Because certainly like in the early days, you might not even have a semblance of what's coming up. I don't think I did. You know, I'm a firm believer in things come to you when you're ready
Hmm.
to work with them. Uh, but I'm so thankful that I had this grounding in just following my interests into different practices. So interesting, you mentioned sleep, and I know you're a bit of a sleep expert, so that might be a whole nother episode. We might have to bring you back for multiple episodes,
Yeah,
Ruby.
bring me back.
Um,
No.
the sleep thing was, I and again, it wasn't like a conscious thing. It was probably semi-conscious because at the time, so going back to January of 2020, there I am in the alcohol experiment. People are talking about how their sleep's vastly improved, and I'm like, mine hasn't. But then, you know, I had very small beings around me, including one that was still breastfeeding. So, you know,
Oh
it
yeah.
doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter what you do. You can't necessarily stop her from getting up in the middle of the night um, wanting to have her mimmies, as she used to call it. So I remember feeling really kind of um, like I kind of knew that there was something important there to look at, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. And I I just followed my nose, my nose and my knowing. And that in itself, like and it's not necessarily going to be the same for everybody. I think some of the things there's a high degree of commonality, but just at that point in time, focusing on as best I could improving and optimizing my sleep, the knock-on effect was huge. And then that gives you the capacity and the bandwidth to be able to integrate the stuff that then starts to come to the surface.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily matter what the practices are. What matters is that you have an openness to explore. You have some element of being attuned to what's going on in your own body. And usually we're fairly disconnected from the body, which is why I love practices like, any, an integrative yoga practice is wonderful for starting to feel again when perhaps you've not felt for a long time. But just following the place that you're led, having this openness and the curiosity, and it's incredible what will come to you and the kind of impact that it will have. So the sleep thing was huge. Like if I hadn't have sorted that out, I'm not sure that I would have had I wouldn't have had the same ability to tend to the other things in my life. And I was talking to somebody about sleep the other day. I said, well, you broadly spend about half your time asleep, right? So
yeah. And guess what? You lose weight when you're sleeping. I think it's a little secret, but that's where you lose weight. Most people, you're losing the most weight when you're sleeping. So you actually need to have really solid sleep. If, for everything, for your brain to heal, your emotions to heal, to make memories, all of that. It's sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing that you lose, I have it on good authority, the other thing that you lose in your sleep is some of the karmic baggage. So my teacher would say. So that's good news that there's a bunch of stuff that we're effectively shedding without even having to do any, so-called work in the meantime. But so what kind of happened with you with practices, Ruby? Because you and I both love a dip in the cold.
Yes.
So has that always been a thing for you, or was that kind of an
No.
accumulative practice?
It was. So a good friend of mine got together. She was had a sober women's group, and I was included. And she posted this video on Instagram or Facebook where it was these women. They were older women, like 80-year-old women, that had been going in the ocean for decades. I think it might have even been in the UK or Ireland, in your area. And it looked so amazing. I'm like, I want to be that 80-year-old woman with her friends. That's important to me. It's not doing it alone. To me, it's the friends part that was the coolest. And so she started this here, and you think California is warm. No, I'm up in Northern California. It's cold. And she was doing this thing like once, on the first of every month or the first Sunday or something. So I was so scared, you guys, to do it. My body was physically shaking. I don't like the cold. But I only did it because they were doing it, but something was leading me, my intuition, my knowing. Like I knew deep in like this is the thing that will help me. I don't know. I didn't know how. And it was also because I was so scared if I could do it, it was going to like boost my like confidence. That's the thing. I could only go to my shins the first time. Like literally I was so scared and cold and like, but I liked it. I said, this is cool. And the dopamine rush, which is natural. I loved it. And so I was back the next month. And then I formed my own group and said, I'm going every week. So I've been doing this now for almost 3 years, every week. Well, give or take, if I'm sick or something, there's been a few times, but like very consistent. I'm the most consistent, and I gather my women friends, whoever wants to come. And it's so fun. It's like the funnest thing ever because we laugh and we play, and I get to be in my swimming suit, which I never was in my swimming suit, no matter what my weight was, and feel comfortable. And I'm finally like comfortable. That's a big part of it too. I can be in my own skin and laugh and play in the water.
Yeah.
And you feel like a zingy feeling for 3 to 4 hours, right, Ellie? Like this, I'm literally going, I'm so happy.
Yeah, these this somatic intelligence in the body is very powerful. And I think a lot of places now, and in a very powerful way, they're doing a lot of thought work and a lot of kind of stuff with our psychology and stuff. But I mean, on this week's, I put out a podcast this week on mine, which was Trust the Intelligence in the Body. You know, we've looked like this anatomically for 300,000 years or so, they reckon. Well, only 100,000 years or so of that, we even been using language. Like prior to that, we were processing emotions and stress and trauma through the wisdom in the body. And I think so many of us were kind of, it's just natural. Like we're given the opportunity to reserve energy. So we take it, and it means that we're in the middle of a bit of a comfort crisis. And the moment we bring something in that's actually a bit of a stressor, like heat, exertion, cold, the system goes, oh yeah, thank you very much. And there's this kind of really powerful element that comes from it. And the thing that I always say to people is, look, the experience that you're imagining in your head, that is not the experience that you're going to have. And if we let our prediction around what things like this are going to be like rule whether we do or don't do something, we will innocently stay out of some of the most rewarding experiences in our lives, whether it be getting into ice cold water, feeling grief, going honestly, like allowing surrendering to ourselves. That those things there, once we're surrendered to them, they can be challenging, they can be hard, but there's always a richness and a beauty to them, right? Because there are no mistakes. Like, we're supposed to feel this stuff. There's an access point. So particularly early on, I think just testing it out and playing around is really powerful with this stuff.
It is. And listen to your intuition of what you want to do. If you, it's really powerful. Your body knows, your mind knows where to go, what to do, what you're interested in. And it's such a big life now, big, juicy life filled with silliness and fun. And I love it.
Yeah. I had a really it's a bit of a silly example, but it was kind of, it was big at the time. So when I was off with the kids for half term, I took them to, there's a place in the UK called Clip and Climb, which is like a climbing wall place.
Okay.
And a friend of mine came with us as well. And so they've got 3 kids, me and him, doing this climbing business. And the one that we went to, because it's in a shopping centre, which is on multi-level, so it goes really high. Like, I've been to the other one that's in Cambridge, not so high. I was like, shit, this is like, I'd signed him and I up for it, going, oh God, it's actually higher than I thought it was. But I love to climb. So I was like, right, I'm really, really up for this. And I said to him, before you go up, I said, it's like, you don't want to let go, right? When you need to come down, you don't want to let go, because it doesn't catch you straight away, right? So I told him this. And then when he climbed the first wall, I saw him terrified about letting go. And so it's interesting when you kind of play with that sort of stuff, because you know your body's going, no, don't let go, but you're like, I have to, otherwise I'm going to be stuck up here. And we had this experience of they have this thing called the stairway to heaven, right? So if you imagine, you know, Super Mario Brothers with those pipes that come up. So imagine like a spiral of these of differing sizes. So start fairly small, and then there's another one.
Okay, I got it.
And the whole idea is, so you've got a line, but you've got like nothing to hold on to, but you step from one to the next. And they get higher and higher until you're very high up, right? So the kids love going on this thing, and they're like, Mummy, you're going to have a go? And I'm like, and you know, when your brain wants to go, no, I'm not, darling, but your heart's going, yeah, I'm going to have a go with this. And so I start climbing up this thing, and God, could I feel like it was out of my chest. I was terrified, utterly, utterly terrified. But I wanted to keep going, because there was this part of me that wanted to get to the top. And the last step, I have to say, was like, I was seriously scared, which is daft, right? Because you're on a line. And I was looking down at my friend, and he's like, yeah, you can do it, you can do it. And there's a part of me, this kind of like the not the true part of me, the part that the fearful part, but just, you know, you've gone high enough, Ellie, like you could just step up. And I thought, if I did just step off now, like, that's not who I am. Like, I know how disappointed I'm going to feel. So I'm like, no, I'm going to fucking do this. And I managed to get up there, but it was this like, Like all of these practices, all of these things that terrify you, like going into an ice bath, when you follow that knowing into it, like it doesn't matter whether it's that or whether it's the stairway to heaven or what, but it's the following of that, it's the seeing it through. To Sam's point of we create this idea of what it's going to be like, and it's not that at all. It's not that. You have to allow yourself to experience it. And that whole, like, stepping onto that thing, I'm sure if I did it again, I'd probably be pretty much as terrified. But that feeling of liberation, of freedom, of growth that comes with something that sounds quite silly like that, but it's God, it's just amazing. It's amazing. And to round the story off, my friend then went up, and to talk about compassion, like to watch him going up there, experiencing me experiencing some semblance of what I thought he might be experiencing relative to what I experienced. Like, I
Right.
was watching him, and he was getting terrified too, and I could see it in him, and I'm going, "You're doing all of this, you're cheering him on." And that last step, again, he stood there for ages, and he was having the same kind of like, well, do I just step off here or not? And he didn't. He went up there too, but it was just like, gosh, that we're so connected. We're so connected, and it was so wonderful to kind of have that the feeling in my own body of that being supported by somebody, and then supporting somebody else in that growth experience. Like, and so the kind of work that we all get involved in, of being in community, supporting others, watching other people grow, watching other people take massive leaps, it's just the most fulfilling work.
Truly.
Like, I so honored, so privileged to do what we do. And so it's wonderful to get to share this space with you, and to hear about, I want to hear about the personal work that you're doing, and I want to hear about your podcast, because this is fairly new, but it's going to
Yes.
be helping so many people, Ruby. And for you guys to have taken that leap together into that, it's another one of those moments, right?
It's a big leap. Yeah. And I just real quick though, every time I go into the water, it's just like you said, I go through that. It's nervous, scared. I don't want to, and then once I'm in the water, it's like, what? Of course I love this. Of
Yeah.
course it's so much fun. But like each time, just like you said, yeah. But yeah, I love being an alcohol freedom coach. I think it's not only just watching people bloom and grow and change and become who they're truly supposed to be. They grow into themselves. They become their true self, I guess is what I sometimes say. But it's the love. I don't know, love. It's all about the love. Sorry, you guys, but like it's the love. I feel the love. um it happens over Zoom, like right now. I like it's just it's all about love and having more love and sharing love. And so the podcast is a way to also just share the message. I want to be a part of this alcohol-free movement. My business is called Freedom Renegade Coaching. Renegade is a word I picture, we go against the grain, you
Yeah.
know, be different. I love people that are different, like wear your true colors and be brave, you know?
Mm.
So, be a rebel. I know your word is rebel, Sam. It just really resonates to me. I love the word like badassery too. I called one of my like that kind of, I don't know. I just really resonate with all of that. But yeah, the podcast is called Feel Lit Alcohol Free. And I thought that was fun, like a double entendre, like because we say lit when you're out, drunk or whatever. But I love it. Like I feel way more lit alcohol free. And then so in the podcast, I'm with the coach Susan, another fellow coach and friend, and I love having a partner. I really took you guys. You are my inspiration 100%, because I loved your podcast so much. And I'm like, I want to do that too. It's so much fun. It looks like fun, which it is. Yeah.
It is.
So,
It certainly is. God, here we go with the love, especially when you've got a great partner to work with. Hey,
yeah.
Sam.
Sorry, I'm a bit out of it today. But yeah, no, it's true. This is the stuff that I don't know, it's a game changer when you find something that your heart is truly in, and you get to just kind of talk about it, you know. And interestingly, back when I first started my coaching career, I was like, I don't think I want to go into that alcohol world, because I was like, for me, it was like, I've closed that door, I'm going to move on. But then I started talking about it, and people started arriving and being like, oh, like, we want to hear you talk about it more. So the thing is, Ruby, just connected conversations are more powerful than, well, as powerful as anything else. And yeah, I have no doubt that you'll have a growing community of badasses that are, yeah, coming to listen to you and all that kind of stuff. That's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. We always talk about feeling lit because it's just, we want to feel better. You know, when you're drinking, you just want to feel better. When it's all about, you just want to feel better. And so that's why I named it that. I was like, people want to feel better. They want to feel good and lit and radiate and vibrant. And that's it. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Well, you and I are going to have to sort out a date. Probably not in Tampa. I'm not sure there's anywhere we can go and jump in a cold plunge together, but we'll figure it out somewhere.
Maybe
I can come to North California. I didn't realize how I think because I've always pictured you in California, to me it's all sunny, therefore it's
right.
all
That's why wait a minute.
You're getting some pretty crazy weather right now, right? Well,
yeah, we've been having storms and power outages and a lot of crazy weather in the last month or so.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we let you go, I feel like there might be a few more things that you might want to share about how do people find the podcast? How do people find you? Is there a website, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I forgot about all that.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, it's Feel Lit Alcohol Free Podcast, or you can find it at feellitpodcast.com. My business is Freedom Renegade Coaching. You can find my website there. I'm also on all the different social media, Ruby Williams Coaching is for Instagram and TikTok, and
you're on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok, and I have a YouTube channel that I have hundreds and hundreds of videos in, and it's called Ruby Williams Coaching. And so I've been
if you've got a YouTube channel, then in my kids' book, you're an absolute celebrity. When they found out that Sam and I have got a YouTube channel, Mummy, you're on YouTube. I'm like, I'm not sure we've got many subscribers, my love. Don't get too excited.
I'm figuring all this stuff out, and I have a 90-day coaching program, and I do one-on-one coaching. So I love coaching, and I coach with This Naked Mind as well, like with you guys. So it's been great. Yeah.
Fabulous.
So I'd love to. Yeah, please reach out, and we can talk.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Once again, we doubly appreciate it for getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. In terms of our guests, you get props for getting up so early.
Might be the earliest. Potentially we've had I think that you probably are. I don't think we've had anyone get up earlier than 4 a.m. actually. So yeah, you win that prize.
I do remember. Do you remember when Wendy McCallum showed up in her pajamas?
Oh yeah, that was we're welcome that. Late. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, down with that.
Well, I'm so excited to meet you guys in person. Yeah, this is going to be amazing. Yeah,
yes, might just burst.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Lots and lots of love to you, and keep up the good work with the podcast. Looking forward to seeing what happens for you next. Thank you so much.
Thank you.